Hi everyone, welcome to eLearnChat, where you always learn something new. And Happy New Year, everyone. And it's a new year and a new decade. Time to make some things happen. Joining me today is my good friend coming to us from the land of Scotland, but she lives in England right now. She is Leslie Price with www.learnappeal.com. And I think you're changing your URL if I'm not wrong, correct? It's going to be learnappeal.org?
.org.uk so that it actually sends out a message that we are a charity.
That's great. So is it already changed as far as if the people want to go see it? Is it .org.uk?
No, we're still .com, but
okay.
People can go to .org.uk, but I've still got a bit sorting out to do.
Okay.
But hey-ho, it's in the new year,
Hey-ho.
The new year's busy.
That's true. Hey, and we hope you guys...
should say to everyone who's watching... lang me your lumreek. And it means long may your chimney smoke in your house and you keep good health.
Yep. May your intestines stay clear. That's what I say. Yep. Anyway, and on the video switcher and mixer, we've got Harold Muliati. He's probably silently on microphone. He can say hi or whatever, but Happy New Year to you too, Harold.
Happy New Year.
And we've got a great guest today. He hasn't been on for about probably a couple of years almost, and it's been way, way, way too long. Christopher Allen from Allen Interactions is here, and he'll be joining us in a moment. Here we go. This show is sponsored by Relate Corporation at www.relate.com, your training and video partner.
Hello, I'm Peter Baker. Please visit voiceovermasterclass.com to see details of the training courses I have on offer for new and existing voice talents to further their career by enhancing voice and technical skills, as well as essential marketing tips.
And we are back in there in that center position of power. Good friend, Christopher Allen. How are you, Chris?
Fine, thank you. I'm so happy to be back on with you guys.
It's been too long. I know we've had a couple of missed schedule problems, I think, between us. And you were actually scheduled a couple of times, and either something happened here. One time something happened here. I don't know if we had a power outage or something. And another time you got on a plane and couldn't make it. I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah, like an emergency trip to Europe or something like that. But I'm so glad you're back on. I haven't seen you in a while, and it's always good to hear what you guys are up to. And pre-show, you told us your dad's doing great, busier than ever, and that makes us happy. So how have you been?
Fine, thanks. Yeah, and, it's fun. I'm sure I've talked about this on your show before, but I have just a great time working with my dad, and there's certainly... no end to the number of interesting projects that he's had an opportunity to work on, and I really feel like I'm in a prime position to get kind of a master class on instruction and human performance, and it's a really fun working relationship, and I'm kind of excited to still, after a decade, go to the same building and be under parental supervision all day long.
That's great.
I love it.
But and you're a lot of people probably don't remember this or don't know this, but you're also an Ironman. You do the triathlete competitions, if you're still doing them, and I imagine you are.
Yeah, I am still in training. We live in Minneapolis, and there's no open water.
No.
So wintertime is a time to be on the indoor bike and pedaling just as often as I can. And we've got I probably, since the last time that we were on your show, we've got 2 kids now here at home, 4 and 2.
Congratulations.
And I'm chasing those, so that covers the run part of my training. And when everybody finally goes to sleep, I get a chance to be on the bike and put the hours in, so when eventually the snow and ice goes away, we can do fun stuff outside.
You can also step outside in Minneapolis and just shiver for about a month straight. It's that kind of works out the muscles, but
yeah,
cold. I don't know.
For sure.
One time I was at a training conference. Actually, it was a training class at Progress Software, which is a fourth generation language, RDBMS, relational database management system up near Boston. And there were these two big guys outside. They look like Vikings. And they're dressed in just like short sleeve shirts. It's -10. Short sleeve shirts. And I walk by and I go, let me guess, Vikings, Minnesota? And they go, yeah. And they were from Minnesota. It was just a classic moment. I wish I had a camera back in those days, but no, we didn't even have cell phones in those days. But it was just classic. And they go, yep. I go, come on inside. It's a little warmer. They go, oh, yeah, it's warm in there. But it was fun. You know what? But that builds character. I think the cold and you have nothing else to do than develop, do good things, and get in good shape and put up with it. So it's a good thing.
No.
It breeds the desire to have a hobby, is what it does.
It does. Hey, or you're pretty bored.
Yeah, like stay warm.
Yeah. Anyway, we were talking a little bit pre-show, and you guys are doing some pretty amazing and fun stuff. You made an acquisition of a very interesting company. We'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So, for the last, I want to say 4 years, we have been collaborating with Mike and Nick Ruska from Problem Solutions, and they're out of Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and they've had a really fantastic business that they've had for 12 years now. And our e-learning friends and peers and colleagues might know them from their time at ADL and their background in helping develop and get XAPI off the ground. But their business has had kind of really some wonderful and unique opportunities in software development and integration, not just in learning, but in other things. And that extra capability made it really easy for us to collaborate and think about doing new things together, because we've been very complementary in the types of services and offerings that we can bring to clients. And doing the collaboration bit, trying to find interesting ways to work together, discovering, really early on, that we have a wonderful cultural fit. We like the same types of jokes, and it's easy to find a rhythm together when working with a client on, what are our best areas of expertise and how can we bring value to the table. And, just after doing that for a number of years, it made sense to really come together in a more formal way and expand out our business. So, some of the things that they're doing they're not learning related, and I'll make a full circle of why this is important, is, their software development teams, for example, are working with one of the largest global providers of weather data, and they're doing the projects that they're engaged with are commercial facing, and it's building mobile apps, and it's tweaking websites to provide data faster in a more meaningful way for the business. And that expertise like that, when we're working with people who are interested in changing the performance of their business, is just totally invaluable. We're able to start spending, I think, more time working on finding what's the right combination of solutions to solve the performance problem. It's not always that training is the most important part of the solution. And I kind of think sometimes when a project ends up in the training department, it's because the rest of the business has tried everything that they could kind of come up and think with, and it must be a training problem. And by having this expanded services, people just knew how to do it better, why they do it better, and we'd be in better shape. And so that's clearly it's a knowing problem. We're coming to the table earlier, I think, in conversations with our clients now, especially part of this collaboration and acquisition, and helping tease out, what really would be the best use of your capital to solve this performance problem. Let's make sure that we're being empathetic not only to the business need, but also to the individual who's expected to perform. And let's craft a good solution. Is it automation? Is it better software? Is it better process? or is it supporting the performance in such a way where practice and confidence, it needs to be boosted before people are ready to make the jump and do something different.
Yeah.
And that mix of things has been so helpful, because in consulting and working with L&D teams, I think one of the biggest gripes is we just don't get that data, or we don't get that input. It comes too late. We can't quite get it from the business. And so, the time with the subject matter expert to get it right for the training piece that we're building is limited and scrunched. But bringing different tools and a different, kind of mindset to solving the problem opens up, I think, an opportunity to get at the heart of what is the performance problem, what are the range of solutions that we could apply, and let's pick the best one, not just the one that you, client, think you want.
It's a good point too, because a lot of times in the L&D industry, they're focused more on education and not on business. A lot of the L&D people are not really business analysts. They don't understand the business per se, what drives a business, what makes a business go. We're talking about maybe some businesses have inventory issues, some people have deployment issues, some people have construction. It can be a million different things, but they're geared more on, well, let's do WBT, let's do this, let's do that, but it may not be part of what's a problem with the business. And so you're right, if you can look at it from a different perspective.
Part of the reason, I think, for that very often is that all too often, as far as I'm concerned, learning and development sits behind the whole personnel type thing.
Yeah.
They sit behind that rather than being a totally separate department. And to me, L&D should be front line along with the people in the operations, not sitting behind, what's happening with staff changes, what's happening with all that type of stuff.
It's in the wrong place more often than not. And if you're going to put it under someone, ops would be a better place.
I think so. Personally, I think so.
Yeah, earlier at the table, I think is important. And we've been collaborating together, Prime Solutions and Allen Interactions, over the last couple of years on building design thinking tools and some other things really tailored for learning professionals to help make a better case to their business partners that they can be a partner and that they can use the same language that the business uses. And with the groups, especially with the internal L&D teams that we do consulting work with or spend time helping and coaching, there's definitely a strong desire to break out and be closer to the problem, and I think that we gotta find ways and tools and things to frame the conversation in such a way so that we can be there, and instead of just order takers, to the end of the problem. This isn't working, so again, it's just a training problem, and I think there are so many professionals in our field that both have the capability of doing something different, and really truly want to help, if they could just find a way to use the right language and the right tools to make their case, so that they are trusted early.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned language there, Christopher, because one of the things that I used to always say to people, and I still do, is that part of my role when I was working, full time in L&D was as a translator. I was a translator between the people who were doing the job, between the people who were on IT, because obviously I was interested in e-learning, between the people in HR, and between the people who were in senior management. So I was in L&D, part of my job was as a translator.
Yeah, and it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think
it's because it's different languages they all use.
Right. And we get wrapped up in things that are really important at each level, and the language the language barrier, I mean, English is hard just in general, but the language barrier when everybody is describing the same thing using different words, you can quickly feel like you're just totally on different planets and different planes. But I it's my belief that everybody is really engaged in trying to solve the problem. We just got to find ways to get out of our way or figure out what's the right way to frame the things that we can do and that we can support for the business, so that we find our way into the engagement a lot earlier.
But
Now, you
L&D
also mentioned
L&D is actually in a really good position to do that because they work with people across different departments and at different levels within the organization.
Mm-hmm.
And they're one of the few types of departments in an organization that is in a great place to do that. So it's really good to hear that you're talking about getting the language right.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been a fun process to develop new tools to help that come to fruition and be running workshops and talking with people on both sides of the fence, business leaders as well as learning leaders, and say, what can we get on a single page that paints the best picture of this problem, and how in that single page do we all use the same language? So when we're looking at that same page, we all have a good understanding of what is possible. And I really kind of believe that learning professionals are key in on supporting a performance. And if you kind of ran around an organization and said, my main skill is not education, but it's helping people do the right thing at the right time, I think you might get invited to different meetings. And if you advertised, I actually can't make people know things differently, but I can make people do things differently, right? Is there a doing problem? I'm a master of doing problems. You might have a different seat at the table. So we've been working and collaborating on finding ways to build simple tools that allow those sorts of conversations to come to the top. And as I've been saying before, that collaboration with Nick and Mike Hruska over at Problem Solutions is definitely what got things percolating and said this collaboration is more than just promiscuous collaboration. This is collaboration that needs to last for a long time, and let's figure out how to accelerate and do more things together.
And like I said, a good use of semantics, because that's where everybody gets mixed up. What do you mean? What are you talking about? And how do we communicate the same thing to different people?
Right.
And then the words we use make a big difference. So now you also mentioned pre-show that you talked a little bit about the AllenAcademy that's been growing, and tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So the AllenAcademy. So for those who are watching the show who might not know my dad, Dr. Michael Allen, he's been in this field for a long time. He's written now over 8 books, and more are in the works. For the last 15 years, we have partnered with organizations like ATD to take the content from those books and deliver professional development opportunities. So we used to offer 3 certification courses through ATD, several on instructional design and advanced interactivity in digital form, as well as process. And so, we taught workshops through ATD on our process, SAM, which stands for the Successive Approximation model, as a replacement of ADDIE. And so those programs, they've been around for a long time, and they've had a lot of mass appeal. And what we've been looking for is a different way to accelerate the skills of professionals in our field and really support the field to do more. And we talk to people like Joe Gonci, who, of course, does a lot of tools training, and a number of other people who do tools-specific training, Captivate and Storyline and Lectora, and all the top rapid authoring tools. And one of the things that we were talking about is, from the certificate courses that we had been offering through ATD and through other tools training courses, there's a big gap, and the gap is this: if you spend a bunch of time learning what makes a great interaction or a great learning experience and how to put it all together, you can feel like the next step is just too hard. Now your antenna are up, and you're looking at the authoring tool that's in front of you, and you're going, yeah, I know what would make this performance really come to life and allow my students to practice it. And I don't see any buttons in the tools that I'm using that's just going to magically make that happen for me. And so, our course material through ATD been really popular, and we've seen people grow who had skills in really wielding authoring tools before. But for those who didn't, the opportunity to fundamentally change the way that they work and the work product that they're putting out time and time again was kind of stumped. And from the other direction, people who are learning how to use feature function stuff and all the rapid authoring tools, they too were stumped. Now I can use all this stuff, but what should the experience be? And so the AllenAcademy is branching out to do a couple of different things. One is we're not aiming to provide 2 or 3 day workshops. What we're aiming to provide is programs that interleave practice with new skills development in learning theory and learning authoring tools, back to learning theory and how to manage a team and work with subject matter experts and organize your content and write compelling stories. And at the end of, like a 4-course experience where you're interleaving theory with tools practice, with more theory and organization skills, that you develop a capstone that's intended to be delivered to your employees or the students that you support. And kind of getting the digital credential of being an Allen Certified Instructional Professional is our professionals, people who are doing this work at Allen Interactions, will take a look. We'll do a little bit of coaching with you. You'll be judged on some rubrics developed in those first 3 courses. How to use CCAF effectively, how to use the 3 M's: meaningful, memorable, and motivational to create compelling courses. And if that sort of stuff is transferred into the work that you're delivering for students, we really have done a good job of supporting your skills development. But then we can offer a credential that's a lot more than a paper certificate that says you attended a 3-day course. But we really have seen your work grow, and your students are going to be better for it. So those are the types of experiences that we're looking to develop at the AllenAcademy. We've got our first sets of programs out. Some electives are coming soon from people that that kind of stack on to the program experience. But we're also branching outside of just instructional professionals. So the AllenAcademy will be offering a program here in 2020 for people who want to be learning leaders or are aspiring CLOs. Mm-hmm. And so there'll be an interesting set of programs set aside to hone your skills in that space. We're also offering another set of programs for people who want to really dig into business impact measurement and learning effectiveness measurement. And then the final college underneath the AllenAcademy is for serious learning design. And so people who are interested in really digging into game-based learning and serious learning in a way that kind of not only expands what's necessary to be an instructional professional, but also getting into the nitty-gritty of making it a long-term engaging experience that doesn't feel like you have stripped away everything that makes a game fun and stripped away everything from learning that makes learning important or learning actually happen. And how do you bridge those two things together? I can't remember who I heard it from first. It was probably my dad, but he was saying, there's no better person who is more effective than making a game not fun than an instructional designer.
So true.
Because learning should be fun. I mean, Rick knows that I became a grandmother not long before Christmas, Christopher, and my little grandson is now 8 weeks old. And my daughter has him sitting in his bouncy chair, and she's playing him classical music. But on the TV, when she's doing this, there's lots of balls going round. There's lots of things that he can see, and he is clapping his, he's trying to clap his hands. He's dancing. He's laughing, but he's actually learning, and the learning is fun. And I think, if learning isn't fun, and it doesn't matter if you're a child or you're in your 50s or your 60s, learning still has to be fun.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. It makes it's a lot more durable for certain if it's something that you are well connected with. And I think the same thing goes for people who are creating learning. If you're not having fun while you're creating learning, I think your students will recognize that pretty quickly, that this is a product that was developed in a process that wasn't fun, and that the people who are making it were treating it as a job. But if you're having fun while you're building stuff, I think that the magical elements that make a durable, powerful instructional product really do come to life.
Yeah.
I think, Chris, this would be another show opportunity to talk about. This is a pretty important topic, because there is so much fear, for example, in corporate America, of doing anything that's interesting. It's like, we're afraid of being sued. We're afraid of this. It's like you can't live in fear, and they do. And that stops training from ever being interesting half the time. It's just that's something we should do another show on, just about how do you design better learning? How do you get companies to break that barrier of fear and actually not be so afraid of everything that could happen? Quit being politically correct. Let's just make good training. And that's something that's still not there. It's still people are struggling with, and it's gotten better in some cases, worse in others. So definitely something to talk about. Now, before we go today, we've got probably about 5-7 minutes left. You were going to do a quick demo of some new process, the new processes you're using, I think. Yeah.
So there's a long history to this product, but the original challenge was we were working with a group of medical experts and had helped them develop a change process, and it really was around healthy habits, and it spanned all sorts of stuff, not just biking and running and exercise and eating healthy, but also spiritual stuff and what makes you happy and all those sorts of things. And in order for this process, which turned out to be enormously effective in helping people have better habits, in order for it to be effective, for the professionals really to do a good job in helping that come to fruition, they needed to ask a lot of questions. And it was a survey that was daunting, and it took just way too long to come up with a personal prescription of how should you tackle change. And so we worked to develop something that's called a constellation. And this product is using a lot of space-based themes, but the personal constellation is giving you a quick visual reading of what are the things that you're doing a lot of today, what are the things that you're not doing, and then using that same metaphor to personalize changing goals. And this is something that we've now developed to the point where it can be plugged in a learning portal as the front end to personalized learning. And we've used it with conference providers to provide an individualized schedule of sessions that people should go to or experiences that people should go to. So it's web-based. It's HTML5. It'll run on a phone or on a tablet, or here as I'm doing it on my computer. I'll put in my email address and my organization and say start. So the content in this is all geared towards learning professionals, because that was the last iteration that we did this for. And this is thinking about what are the things that you do as a learning professional, and how might you want to change your the quality of your work, and what sort of things would you like to learn or become skilled on in the future. So I'm at the center, so my name's at the center, and then it's going to plot stars, and those stars are attached to kind of some big level concepts. At the top, I don't know how well visible it is, but there's a little bit of a description, and it says, so this star is about design thinking, and I'm essentially asking myself, do I begin each project or engagement with exercises that clearly define the problem that needs to be solved? And if I think this is something that I do pretty well, or I do a lot of, why, I bring that star close. And if I think it's something, that's not something that I do very often, I pull it away. I mean, there's kind of some fun little things in here where the star gets smaller as I pull it away from me, and it gets bigger as I bring it close. But then I let go, and it drops the next star. So we're asking, this is an interesting way to ask a scaled question, and it goes pretty quick. So once you get the cadence, so here's instructional design. I design learning experience with intentional focus on enabling and improving on-the-job performance of learners. So that's something I do a lot of, so I'll bring it close. So I'll do a couple of these, and I don't think, for this demo, actually reading all the questions is important, but as you see, we're building little constellations of things that go together. So these 4 purple stars relate to design, and now I'm working on a set of questions or stars that go with development. So visual design, VR. How often do I do these things? Is it something I do often? Is it something that I don't do very often? And we build an interesting picture. And so both with the first iteration, which was really all around personal habits and health, as well as the work that we've done with instructional professionals at conferences and stuff, going through this exercise really quickly elicits kind of some truths about things that people do often, or that they don't do very often. And when done this way, I think people focus more now on the things that are truly important to them, and less on the things that are buzzwords or kind of the latest, greatest. Okay, so in our demo, we've moved to the next mode, and this is now, okay, so this is a constellation or picture of me today. Well, not really, but closely. So this is supposed to be kind of stage 1. This is what I'm doing today. And now I'm tasked with move the stars to represent your goals, or what do you want your constellation to look like at the end of the year? So I would bump up instructional effectiveness, and I want to bump up ROI, and maybe I want to use a little bit of VR, or at least more than I'm doing. Maybe I want to be less focused on wow factor and using the latest technologies, but just kind of really be focused on quality and estimation. Okay, so you can move as many of these stars as you would like. Individualized learning, that's something that's important to me. And say done. Okay, so now I can select up to 6 of the changes that I feel should be my top priorities, which is another interesting step in setting goals and thinking about yourself. I think it's easy when you're given a whole range of things to say, oh, this is all the stuff that I really want to change. Now we're saying, well, you've got a year. Are you really going to change all of those things, or let's just narrow on the things that you think are your top priorities? So in this mode, I'm only highlighting. You can see some of the things are dimmed in the background, but I'm only highlighting the stars that I moved. So we're only looking at things that I made big changes to. So if I select, I want to make estimation and ROI and individualized learning a priority. And even though I said I wanted to do more in VR and I wanted to do more in instructional effectiveness, I'm going to leave those behind. Now I'm on a screen here where those carry forward, and now I can say, which really is my top. I can see which have the biggest delta change over here on the right. It's giving me a quick peek back to my Constellation, but I might say, individualized learning, that's the most important, and ROI comes in second, and I'll say submit. So now what the system will do, or at least what it's set up to do, is to point people back to materials that will help them in setting their goals. It will send them a full picture of their Constellation that they can print, and they can put up someplace to remind them of the goals that they set. And it'll also give them this picture of, here are the things that you're really focused on. So even though there's lots of things that you might want to do for professional development in the year, when you went through the process of thinking what's important to you, these were the ones that were brought up to the forefront. So with our clients, this little bit, we've been designing and implementing in learning portals to help individualize learning paths. We've used it inside a single learning application, or kind of a one-off SCO, to help individualize the rest of the experience for the student. As well as, it can be used as an interesting survey tool for talent strategists, as well as kind of CLOs, to say, where should we be focusing our efforts and spend for the next year to upskill our talent pool. Where instead of just saying, here are the new training courses, really try to quickly elicit, kind of with a lot of fidelity, what do people not only want to change about their own abilities and performance, but after gathering that list, what do they really want to tackle here in the near future? And some of the people that we've talked to who struggle with trying to figure out what's the right talent strategy, it can be interestingly enough, and kind of bring this together with the last conference that we did it at, for L&D professionals, the biggest delta in change was on game design. So in an audience of 500 people, the biggest change that the audience wanted to see as an improvement in their skills was the ability to do game design. When it came to this last step of prioritizing what are they going to spend their time, attention, and effort on, it was not picked. So it was the number one skills gap that was identified, but it was not set as a priority for professional development for the rest of the year. And that sort of illumination for someone who's setting talent strategy or trying to figure out what learning programs should an organization invest in, those sorts of nuggets I think are pretty powerful. So we're excited to have this little kind of fun new tool that can be used in a variety of ways.
That looks like a lot of fun. Actually, it reminds me kind of an interactive mind map, but different. And I like the Constellation metaphor because orbits change. As you accelerate one way, slow down in another thing, some things get closer to you, get further away, and yet they adapt to whatever you're doing. That's kind of a cool concept. Yeah.
So something fun and new and just, for a lot of people who are out there who are just thinking about their own learning programs, this kind of came out of some design exercises to figure out, what would be a better way to elicit important information for us to design better work.
And I like the holistic approach where you're looking at all the different factors, not just one or two of them, because in most corporations, a couple of things are stressed and then the rest are ignored, or they're rah-rahed in a marketing way, but nobody does anything about it. Like you said, they all want to be game designers, but not important.
Right.
It's interesting because they know where the money's going to come from, and it probably won't come from game design in a company. They're going to go, we don't care about that. We want this done. What are you going to do? How's training going to get better with game design? So that's a fight they'll leave for another day. It's a sort of interesting.
Can we get you back on camera, Christopher?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I need to stop sharing. I'm not a disembodied in Constellation.
But no, that's clever. Good approach to it.
Thanks. Yeah, it was really a fun project to be a part of and evolve over time.
Well, we are actually out of time. We've been out of time for a while, but that's okay. We'd love to have you back soon and keep talking about some of these concepts, maybe go a little deeper into some things and try to get more people into the chat room, so also to ask questions and get a feel for some of the things you're doing. You guys are always up to something interesting and good and fun at the same time because, like you said, that grows things. People want to do things that are fun and helps them grow. So,
yeah.
Nice.
It's a button that people want to push over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. Leslie?
No, I was just thinking. It's just I don't know if you ever come to the UK, but the Europe's biggest learning technologies conference is actually in London. And Rick was there last year. I was just thinking, oh, Rick, why are you and Leslie not coming again?
I know. We'd love to, but not this year.
Not this year. But Rick and Leslie came last year, and it's a fantastic event, a fantastic conference. I think Rick will actually agree with me there. He was actually quite impressed.
Very good energy, good people. You've probably been to that before in the past, I'm sure. The Learning Technologies Conference?
I haven't, but I'm quite certain that someone from our organization has.
It's a fun conference, and some of the concepts you're talking about, I think would be very well received.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Well, it's not too late for them, right?
Oh, maybe this year, because it's the 12th of February, 14th of February.
Yeah, it's got a month ago.
So,
yeah.
But they not only run the conference, they run loads and loads and loads of workshops.
Yeah.
Like
fantastic.
Almost hundreds of workshops. And there's so many to choose from that if you had something like that that would help direct people what to go to, that might actually be quite useful.
Yeah. Well, what's kind of, I think, a little bit ironic about our industry is we have a lot of conferences where there are a lot of presentations, and I give I give a lot of presentations throughout the year, but we know it's the doing part that makes learning become real, right? And so you're often talking or presenting about a concept, and that's great to get awareness, and there's certainly a lot of value in doing it, but it's not a learning experience.
No.
And so the hands-on experience, trying something, I think is the type of event that I'm personally drawn to, because you do get a chance to see some growth and more ahas than just a straight up presentation.
Yeah.
And this event, the one in London, because it's massive. There's I think 9,000 people there.
Oh, it was 13,000 last. There was almost 13,000. I thought last year. It was a lot.
I think I'm just talking about part of it.
Oh, yeah.
But it is massive. It's the biggest in Europe, and it's not just all presentations. A lot of it, a lot of it is hands-on, and the people that go are actually genuinely interested. I know that Rick and Leslie said, or Rick certainly said the same, and Patty Shank is going to be at it again this year. But they've both said the type of people that attend really do want to learn. They're not there just to hear presentations.
Or to party.
Yeah, that's terrific.
Or to party. Although we do that as
There
well.
was a little bit of that, but you could tell there was a lot of passion in what they were doing, and it was actually refreshing. We both came back saying that was a lot of fun. That was interesting, kind of got our blood going some more. That was the first time we'd been to that show forever in the 25 years we've been in this industry directly. That was the first time, and it was a lot of fun. It was a good show.
We'll put it on our radar for next year for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Put it on your radar.
Yeah.
And that's the
Anyway,
same
it was
group that.
lovely-
Well, now they
lovely-
own all the e-learning guild
They own
ones.
the guild stuff and the
Mhm.
Elliot Macy,
Oh.
so they do.
They bought everybody.
Yeah. And
Gotcha.
and
It's that.
they're personal friends of mine. Personal friends. So the charity that I work for, they always give us a free stand at their event, and that's when Rick came over with Leslie last year.
We call them booths. Yeah.
Yeah, what you call booths, but Rick and Leslie actually worked on the stand non-stop for 2 days.
It was fun.
Yeah. No.
Well, we got trained by Adobe work. Well, we did our own booths for a long time, but we worked with Adobe for 3 years, just helping out. I used to find it funny that they would call a vendor over to help out for 3 years. So they're the ones who created, but no, we were there helping out. And it was fun because we wound up working like minimum 10-hour days. It was like nobody else relieved us. It's like, can we go to lunch now? No, we need you here. Oh. So it was fun, though.
Go to lunch.
You let us go to lunch. Yeah, we had a quick lunch. Yep, it was fun. No, it was actually a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
but anyway, Chris, this is great news and good information. We wish you the absolute best on all the stuff you're doing, and
Thank you.
and love to keep in touch with you and find out what else is going on, because I like the like you said, the multidisciplinary approach you've got to a lot of this stuff, and it's going to only grow, which is good. It's actually a real good thing.
I can't be more excited about our future and the things that we're starting to bring to the table. And it's feels like some days we're just drowning in opportunity and excitement.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Say hi to your dad for me. Wish him the best from us, and we look forward to seeing you at one of the shows soon, or maybe somewhere else. So have a great one. And if any of you have any questions or want to get a hold of Christopher, down here we'll have his contact information and their website. So feel free to visit and go subscribe to whatever they're doing. Well, everyone, have a good one. Have a happy new year. We will see you throughout the year. Here we go. Take care, everyone, and the best of luck and success in 2020. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks, Chris.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
And that's a wrap.